everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, I want you to imagine that I'm your personal, professional editor, and we're just sitting down together to look over your latest draft. I am ready to hand over the ultimate toolkit for pristine, professional academic writing. We're going to build a study guide that transforms your essays from just okay to absolutely outstanding, literally just by mastering the silent symbols on the page. Now, you might be wondering, why does punctuation actually matter in an academic essay? I know, it's super tempting to think of punctuation as just an annoying set of arbitrary rules designed to trip you up. But honestly, that is completely the wrong way to look at it. Punctuation is the invisible framework of your ideas. It tells your professor exactly how to read your mind. It dictates the rhythm, the emphasis, and the boundaries of your arguments, basically ensuring that clarity is paramount and your grader never, ever gets confused. All right, let's look at our editor's checklist for today. 1. Foundations and capitalization. 2. Flow, commas, and semicolons. 3. Colons, lists, and quotes. 4. The apostrophe trap. 5. Parentheses and dialogue. And 6. Advanced polish. Starting off with Section 1, Sentence Foundations and Capitalization. We're kicking off our editing session at the very beginning, the fundamental rules that establish the boundaries and the proper names within your sentences. Okay, let's fire off the absolute non-negotiables of capitalization. As an editor, I gotta tell you, when I see these missed, it instantly lowers the professional tone of an essay. You absolutely must always capitalize the start of a sentence and specific names, like Julie. But hey, don't forget that languages like English and French, days of the week like Mondays, months like March, and countries like China, they're all proper nouns too. Leaving these in lowercase just kind of tells your grader that you rushed the proofreading stage, and we definitely don't want that. So here's a really interesting detail: how we use periods, or, full stops. Yes, they show the absolute completion of a sentence, but they are also absolutely critical for formatting common academic abbreviations. If you're citing a medical professional, it's a capital D, lowercase r, period for doctor. Writing about time, you've got to use periods in AM and PM. And for historical dates, BC and AD require those periods to signal to the reader that these are shortened phrases. It's a tiny, tiny detail, but man, it screams academic rigor. Moving right along to Section 2, flow, commas, and semicolons. Let's see how these marks build your internal sentence pacing by managing the flow of your arguments. Honestly, this is where your essay really starts to sing. I want you to think of the comma as a gentle breath for your reader. It's not a full stop, it's just a brief pause or separation. You're going to use it heavily for listing items, like say you were writing, I like fruit, especially strawberries, raspberries, and apples. But crucially for academic writing, commas set off non-essential extra information. For example, if you write, my brother, who lives in Canada, is visiting next month, the phrase who lives in Canada is bracketed by commas because it's just bonus detail, right? It's not the grammatical core of the sentence. Now we level up to the semicolon. As an editor, I absolutely love seeing a well-placed semicolon. I like to define it as your sophisticated tool for showing the grader that two distinct, complete thoughts are intimately connected. It's a stronger pause than a comma, for sure, but it prevents the hard, full stop of a period, which keeps the reader's momentum going right through your logic. Take this sentence, for example. The rain poured down, the streets were flooded. Listen to how we're joining two completely independent clauses seamlessly. You don't need a conjunction like and or because here. The semicolon itself actually implies that cause and effect relationship. It's clean, it's efficient, and it just looks highly professional on the page. All right, on to Section 3, colons, lists, and quotes. Let's talk about the specific punctuation you need when you're properly introducing evidence in your essay. So if the comma is a gentle breath, you can kind of think of the colon as a drum roll. It explicitly tells the reader, get ready because here comes the specific evidence, the list, or the detailed explanation that I just promised you. It creates a real sense of expectation. Notice how a colon perfectly sets up your evidence. If you're providing a list, you give your complete introductory thought, drop the colon, and then list the items, like saying, here are some chocolate bars, followed by Mars bar, Milky Way, and Snicker. Similarly, in formal writing, if you are setting up an extended academic quote or spoken dialogue, a colon provides a much stronger, more formal introduction than a simple comma. Bill said to his mom, colon, and then the exact quotation. Next up, Section 4, the apostrophe trap.
This brings us to what is easily the biggest trap students fall into, and honestly, my absolute biggest pet peeve as a professional editor: the misuse of apostrophes.
Okay, so the crucial rule to commit to memory right now is this. You must never, ever use an apostrophe simply to make a regular word plural. If you have more than one apple, it is just APPLES, no apostrophe. Save your apostrophes strictly for two things: contractions, like turning do not into don't, and to show possession or ownership. If one dog owns a bone, it's the dog's bone with the apostrophe before the S. If multiple students own books, it's the student's books with the apostrophe after the plural S. Honestly, mastering this one thing will instantly elevate the perceived quality of your writing.
Moving to Section 5, parentheses and dialogue. Now that our foundational structure and flow are looking sound, let's look at adding specific types of evidence and asides to your essays.
Whenever you're pulling direct words from a source, whether that's a literary character speaking, an interview subject, or an article title, you must use quotation marks. Think about a really simple question like, "Do you like singing?" The quotation marks enclose the spoken dialogue. And notice how the punctuation, the question mark itself, sits perfectly inside those quotation marks. It brackets the exact phrase, protecting the integrity of the original speaker's words.
Next, we have parentheses. As an editor, I like to explain that parentheses act as a neat little basket for extra details. You use them to hold explanations or references that are helpful to the reader, but are absolutely not grammatically essential to the main meaning of your sentence. If you took the basket away entirely, this sentence, "The final report was submitted yesterday," still makes perfect sense, right? So use them sparingly, but use them to add helpful context without cluttering up your main clause.
And finally, Section 6, Advanced Polish. We have officially made it to the final proofreading stage of our academic essay. This is where we go beyond basic correctness and start adding what I like to call the advanced polish. Let's talk about your nuanced pacing tools. Think about how dashes can be used to aggressively emphasize a point in your writing, like the phrase, "She was afraid, really afraid, of losing her job." The dashes force this dramatic, inescapable pause. On the other end of the spectrum, ellipses, those three little dots, they gracefully let a thought trail off or indicate a hesitant pause, like, "Well, I'm not sure." Mastering dashes and ellipses gives you absolute control over the reader's emotional pacing and tone. Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground in our study guide today. So I want to conclude this explainer by challenging you to take on the editor persona yourself. The next time you finish a draft, please don't just run spell check. Look closely at the invisible framework. Check your possessives against your plurals. See if a comma should actually be a semicolon. You've got the toolkit now, so the next time you sit down to write, ask yourself, how will mastering these exact editorial tools transform the clarity and impact of your next academic essay?